with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing as we honor our veterans, as Veterans Day approaches for all our servicemen and women around the world. And let us also remember the victims of the horrible attack in the church in Texas. Thank you. Have a seat. Okay, at this time I would like to set the meeting dates for the workshop. The next workshop will be Tuesday, November 28th at 7 p.m. And the next meeting, the next organizational meeting will be Monday, December 4th at 7 p.m., which will be followed by the December board meeting. So we're going to have an organizational meeting starting at 7 and the regularly scheduled board meeting immediately following. Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to skip around. It's going to be recreation. Miss Kathy Mills.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
And congratulations, Mayor and Moira and Frank. Looking forward for many more years ahead. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So a few upcoming things that we have tomorrow night. If anyone is interested from the board, we have our recreation board meeting, and it will be upstairs in the community room at 7 p.m. This is for the recreation board members, the volunteers that help us at our events. And then this Saturday will be the Veterans Day Parade, Ceremony, and Barbecue. The barbecue is a nice addition this year, and we're asking for anyone that attends to invite a veteran that they might know. We're trying to, all the scouts that we reached out to, the school-age children, we've reached out and asked them to bring a veteran that they know. So hopefully we'll have a lot of guests with our guests this year. So we're hoping to have a nice turnout for that. It will start 11 o'clock here at Village Hall and go over to Soldiers Monument, and then the DARE group with Chief Osborne and the Chamber of Commerce and the American Legion. Everyone is helping contribute to this event and helping to put a nice community affair for us. So we're really looking forward to this day.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice event, a little change up from the usual event that, while we return back up to the American Legion, we'll be now returning to the gazebo and the community center for hot dogs and refreshments.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
The next Artie time will be Thursday, November 16th, and that's at 12 o'clock in the community center, and that's for seniors. Pre-registration is required. This has been a wonderful program that we've started, and it's filling up. We have filled up classes each time that we do this, and we do it 2 times a month. So it's a really popular, very nice program for everybody. The next Dare Dance is Friday, November 17th, and that's over at the community center between 7 and 9 p.m. And that's for students in Suffern, I almost said Ramapo Central, in Suffern Central, that are in 5th grade and 6th grade. And then the next event, we have the Broadway Show Beautiful, and that's on Sunday, November 18th. We're looking forward to that. The Poetry Club, we're hosting them upstairs in the community room, and that's on Saturday, November 18th at 6:30 p.m. And then on Sunday, November 19th, the Veterans Angels food giveaway will be over at the community center. Should have wrote that. And that's a really nice event. Mayor, I know that you're very involved with that. I think it's
so that event, yes, that event, just a little more detail, is hosted by the Veteran Angels. And the Veteran Angels are a group of servicemen, veterans that have returned from Iraq and Afghanistan and trained service dogs for returning vets with PTSD. It's a great program. It's also headed up by Richie Jocko, a Korean War veteran, and it's been a success for the last probably 3 years. Now we moved into Suffern. We do it both in Suffern and Sloatsburg. So for veterans, come on out, and it should be 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock a.m.
And that consists of like a turkey or a ham and potatoes and vegetables. It's a great event.
Right. It was wonderful to be part of it last year. I think it's
Yeah.
a great contribution to veterans. It's very nice. And that's it for culture and recreation.
And I think you have a special mention here.
I certainly do.
Okay.
I would like to call up Miss Virginia Menschner, our village clerk. You get to have the formal part of this now tonight. And Isabel, would you like to come up? Yes, it is. Yeah. Okay. So this is an award that's presented through the mayor's office and the village to volunteers in the community. It was named after Andrew C. Haggerty, who is Mrs. Haggerty's husband. And Mayor Haggerty at the time. And we're so proud that somebody who is in our daily lives and our daily community is receiving this award this year. So this is presented to Miss Virginia Menschner, the Andrew C. Haggerty Outstanding Service Award for all the things that she does. So, Mayor, would you like to say something?
Sure.
Okay.
So on Thursday, right, it was Thursday, we had a celebration here. It was more intimate with the village staff in Virginia, and we presented her with the Andrew C. Haggerty Award along for her outstanding service to the community and volunteerism for many years here in the village of Suffern, through the recreation staff, through the Tagus Monastery, and other various events in the village. And we also awarded her her own parking spot in the village parking lot. So let's give Virginia a round of applause.
Thank you.
See that? And someone parked in her spot the other day, and there was an issue.
It was a fire inspector.
I got permission to park in her spot today because I was with her.
I was thinking about doing the same thing, asking them, hey, when you're not here.
Congratulations, Virginia.
Thank you. All I can say is thank you. I really, really love the village. You can tell it by my staying here as long as I have been. They're going to have to throw me out.
And if Miss Haggerty, if you would like to come back up.
Good evening, and congratulations to you and to Frank and Moira. Thank you. I'm here representing the Lions Club of Suffern, and I have a certificate of appreciation for the Mayor and Board of Trustees, the Village of Suffern Recreation Department, and the Department of Public Works, with thanks and gratitude for their support of the second annual Dog Day, which was held on September 9th, 2017.
Very nice. Thank you. She's taking a picture.
Oh. And I...
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. No. And this is also from the Suffern Lions Club, certificate of appreciation to Chief Clark Osborne. I'm surprised he's not here. Oh, he is? Oh. And the Suffern Police Department with the same thing, with thanks and gratitude for their support of the second annual Dog Day. And if anyone has a dog that they love or want to show off, we're going to have another Dog Day on next September, and just keep that in mind. You can give that to Clark, okay?
I could. I was a judge.
Go ahead, Judge. The judge here is going to say a few words.
The dog competition was fierce. for the cutest, the most looked like their owner. It was a lot of fun. The participants had a lot of fun. Myself and the other judges had a lot of fun. And it should continue for a long, long time. It was a wonderful thing sponsored by the Lions, and I thank them for it.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Haggerty. It's a big success, the Suffern Dog Day. Great job. Great job, Lions Club. Mrs. Hagen, she's in the back. Another Lion. All right. Oh, Dr. Leshin also. He's there behind Jim. Thank you. Okay, it is now, I have my watch on,
Well, it's definitely past 7:05.
7:15. I'd like to open the public hearing, amending local law 200 of the Code of the Village of Suffern for peddling and soliciting regarding the definition of solicitor and adding a new section to include a list of persons not wanting to be distributed by peddlers, solicitors, and canvassers. Local Law 6 of 2017, amending Chapter 200 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, peddling and soliciting. We have a resolution authorizing the adoption of Local Law 6, amending Chapter 200 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, peddling and soliciting. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak?
If I could just give a little background. First off, should the board choose to adopt this local law, continuing with the spirit of the early evening, it should be named in honor of Moira Hertzman, who's been pushing for this for quite some time. We won't talk about how long. This is a long overdue change, and what it does is it requires peddlers, solicitors, and canvassers to check to apply with the village clerk for a permit in order to go door to door. It redefines what constitutes a canvasser or solicitor to include, for the purposes of this local law, real estate brokers, sellers of energy and utility type services shall be deemed to be canvassers or solicitors. And it adds a new section which speaks to the requirement that the village clerk maintain a list which will be at the very least put on the village website to be filled out so that anyone who wants to opt out from having a peddler or solicitor come to their door, the classic no-knock list, that they would be able to register online or in person, and that when the peddler or solicitor applied for their permit, and it also has strict requirements on who can get the permit and what they have to show, that they will be given a list, and in the event that they violate this local law, there will be penalties associated with it up to and including a misdemeanor. This, to a large extent, mimics what we already have in what we call our advertising local law, but that really relates to people who send things in the mail unsolicited. So the village clerk is also supposed to maintain a list of those people as well. These lists could be merged. We're working on a new website, if anyone's checked it out lately, and we're going to make this user-friendly, and it should be very easy to find. With regard to this local law, it is a Type 2 action under seeker. So at the close of the public hearing, the first action that the board would take is to declare it a Type 2 action requiring no further review under seeker. And then should the board wish to adopt the local law, a resolution is attached adopting same.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak in regards to local law number 6? Come on up, state your name and address, please. Okay.
My name is Ed Mahecha, M-A-H-E-C-H-A, of 10 Stockbridge Avenue here in Suffern. I was wondering whether the definition of peddler or solicitor includes religious groups who may be coming to your door trying to evangelize.
No. They are specifically exempted, along with Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, or similar village-based youth organizations, school groups, churches, fraternal organizations, a duly organized volunteer ambulance or fire company or district, or an auxiliary thereof, or other bona fide charity who is acting on behalf of said organization, group, company, district, or corporation, where the organization shall have provided notice to the village clerk, so there is a requirement still that they give notice, at least 5 days before the first activity on behalf of the dates of the activity, and the name and address of the person in charge.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. And if I can add to it, not that any of us enjoy this, but the Constitution pretty much has to prohibit, has to allow for politicians to be able to knock on the doors.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, so at this time, I would like to declare this a type 2.
First, motion
I'm
to
sorry.
close the public.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. This time, I'd like to declare this action a type 2 action that requires no further action. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Now before me, I have a resolution adopting local law 6 of 2017, amending chapter 200 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, peddling, soliciting, and canvassing. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Good job, Trustee Hertzman and Mr. Kraushaar.
Thank you.
It's now 7:22. I would like to open the public hearing, amending the Village Code, Chapter 235, Street Sidewalk Section. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Magrino.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. This local law pertains to a current section of the code which requires commercial enterprises who provide snow plowing services in the village to get a permit. As you know, I handle the prosecutions in court, and sometimes there's issues have come up about when a permit is necessary, and if let's say a snowplow business has several vehicles, whether they have to register each one. It's really administered by the Department of Public Works, by Mr. Sawicki, and he and I went over this numerous times in terms of coming up with something that would work in court, and also so that people and the businesses would understand what their requirements were. The purpose of this law, going back, was if somebody's performing commercial snowplow services and snow plows into the street or blocks a drain, et cetera, that there's some accountability. It's not necessarily about collecting the fee for the permit. It's more about knowing who's doing what in the village. So we've made some changes which are on set forth there, which just will help us when we're in court in terms of defining the vehicles that it applies to. We also are having most of it go through DPW, since they are really the ones who administer the permit in any event. The one small amendment, which which is not really substantive, in paragraph 2, I forgot to take out a village clerk. It said forms furnished by the village clerk should be forms furnished by DPW, but other than that one change, it's as the board has before it. I did submit this to county planning. They sent us a letter dated October 31st indicating they approve. So as with the other previous local law, this would also be a type 2 action. So at the appropriate time, I'd ask that take place at the close of the public hearing.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Okay, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. This time I'd like to declare this a type 2 action that requires no further action. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes. And do you have a resolution there with you, Mr. Magrino?
No, I did not.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah. No, that was to set the public hearing. The resolution you have, I think, was to set the public hearing, or is that?
No, we
Oh, it's
have
to adopt?
Adopting.
Adopting.
I underestimated myself, I'm sorry.
I have a resolution in front of me adopting local law 7 of 2017, amending the code of the village of Suffern, chapter 235, streets and sidewalks. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes. I just want to get into the record that we did receive a GML review, actually ex post facto, but we also received a GML review on the previous local law from Rockland County Planning, approving the local law, not requiring any overhaul or override, I should say, which would require a supermajority of this board. And I believe they were both dated October 31st, 2017, and both signed by Doug Schutz, the acting Commissioner of Planning.
Thank you. Any further? All in favor? Aye, motion,
Could I just make one comment?
sure.
Since the winter season is pretty much upon us now, and we're now adopting this, can we send out maybe a constant contacts message to residents, just to advise them that as they're making their contracts with their snow plow facilities for this winter season, that they make sure that their company that they're contracting with is aware that they need to be permitted?
Okay, Mr. Zawicki, would that be possible to develop a memo out of your office in regards to the permit application and the responsibility of the homeowner and the contract they enter into? Yes. And then we'll get that out to, via email and put it on the website. Great idea. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes. Okay, it is now 7:28. I'd like to open the public hearing, amending the Village Code, Chapter 266, zoning, Article 7, off-street parking and loading. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye, okay. Hold on now. Okay, Mr. Magrino.
Again, I mentioned this at the workshop. This is still a work in progress. We had prepared a draft. This addresses the parking of commercial vehicle in a residential neighborhood in a front yard or in the side yard. We're going over it after discussions with the mayor and some board members and the building department. At this point, we're going to maybe tweak it a little bit and present it in a final form next time. We had scheduled it for tonight, so I'm just asking that we continue it, and I'll certainly circulate the final draft before the next meeting and, you know, get something that the board is prepared to vote on, that we're
Okay.
going to ask the board to vote on.
Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak in regards to parking in the front lawn, front yard? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing on
December 4th,
December 4th.
2017.
Is that right? Yeah, 2017, at what time?
I would say 7:30. 'cause
The
you got
regular
reorg
meeting.
before.
Okay.
Yep.
The reorg.
So, continuation of the public hearing, December 4th at 7:30, 2017.
And I'd also like to just get on the record that we also received a GML review, also dated October 31st, from the Rockland County Department of Planning, Doug Schutz, approving at least the version that's before you tonight. But depending on how much it may change, we may have to get a new GML.
Right. After our meeting, we'll make a determination on that.
I have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, the fire department chief was unavailable, but his request is to add fire department member to village insurance. That would be one Kyle Tamboro. He's under 18, and he's in the hose company. Do I have a motion? Do we do a resolution?
No.
No.
I mean, you want, do it anyway.
Yeah, do I have a motion? Motion. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
I already put him on insurance.
Okay, he's on insurance. Good job, Virginia. Okay. Grant writer, Mr. Fred Rella, please. Very busy man here in the village.
Good evening, Board, and first of all, congratulations to
Thank you.
The Mayor and Trustees Hagen and Hertzman. Congratulations. And also to Virginia. A little bit of trivia. Virginia started working in the village in 1958. That was the year I was born. So congratulations.
She signed my birth certificate.
The very first thing that I have has to do with the Community Development Block Grant, which is the annual grant of HUD money, which is disseminated through the county. We applied to the county for it. But we have to develop a committee called the Citizens Advisory Committee, which is made up of a cross-section of residents within the community. And then we come up with some ideas for the Community Development Block Grant, and then we present that to the board and then submit the application in January. This being November, we have to form that committee, and I believe there was a resolution that was developed. Was it passed at the workshop? I didn't attend the workshop. I wasn't
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was passed. So thank you very much for doing that. And we'll be busy working between now and the end of December to come up with an idea and present it to you. The Wayne Avenue Sidewalk project was the most recent community development block grant. I'm proud to say that we were awarded approximately $181,000 with the Clean Water Act. This is with Governor Cuomo. He infused additional millions of dollars for drinking water and sewer projects. So for our sewer abatement project, we were actually able to receive $181,000 approximately. So that's
Great.
very good.
All of those grants help us.
Yeah, what's interesting about that grant is it sort of is a milestone grant because it brings us to a threshold now of over $1 million. We're near $1.2 million during the past 2 years. So through many grants.
Right.
So that was nice to achieve that level and be over $1 million.
So over $1 million in less than 2 years.
Right,
In
right.
grant funding we've received through the hard work of Fred Reller and the department heads here in the village.
Right.
So great job.
Oh, thank you.
And your goal is to add another 0 to that
Right, right.
by the end of the year?
Exactly.
Thank you.
And basically, that's what I have for tonight.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Fred. Keep up the good work. Chief Clark Osborne was unable to be here this evening, but I have one item, I believe. Virginia, is that correct?
Right.
So I have a letter here from Michael Coletta. Dear Chief Osborne, this is my formal letter of resignation from the position of Parking Enforcement Officer in the Village of Suffern. As previously discussed, my last day in my current position as a parking enforcement aide will be November 10th, 2017. Please let me know if I can provide further information or if you have any questions. Thank you very much for the many years of employment. It has been my pleasure working for the Village of Suffern Parking Enforcement. Sincerely, Michael Coletta. Do I have a motion accepting Michael Coletta's resignation?
Make a motion.
Have a second?
Discussion.
All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion?
I'll let this one go, but in the future, a resignation is supposed to be directed to the village clerk. And the fact that it was filed with the village clerk will suffice. But I just wanted to get that on the record.
Michael Coletta was he's an Army veteran. He was deployed, and he served here in the village for roughly, what do you say, Frank, about?
5 years.
5 years. He's a great guy. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay. What was that?
At this time, I would like to open up to audience participation. Is there anyone here from the audience that would like to speak? Okay. All right, thank you. Virginia, the village clerk.
Okay. First thing on the agenda is unpaid taxes, which I'm asking to be able to send to the county, and that's in the amount of $216,475.59.
Okay, so I have a resolution here authorizing the Village of Suffern to file a report of unpaid village taxes to the County of Rockland. Be resolved, the Village of Suffern Board of Trustees authorizes the Village of Suffern to file a report with the County of Rockland indicating that $216,475.59 of village taxes remain unpaid and due upon the real estate in said district assessed or levied upon the tax list with warrant dated May 10th, 2017. Be it further resolved that the mayor and the 3 village trustees are authorized to sign the statement reporting to the County of Rockland that $216,475.59 of village taxes remain unpaid and due upon the real estate in said district assessed or levied upon the tax list with warrant dated May 10th, 2017. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion?
I just want to make it clear to anyone who cares that the reason why we do this is some people don't pay their village taxes, don't pay their water bills, don't pay their sewer bills. We have to re-levy it, send it on to the county. That's what we're doing, what the board is doing tonight. The county then makes us whole, and then the county chases after the money. That's how that works.
There's one discrepancy.
What's that?
One says 59 cents, one says 79 cents.
I'll check it.
Okay?
Will do.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
You really are looking out for
Who
every
made the
penny.
motion?
I don't know.
Laura, Amy, did someone make a motion on that?
Frank and Hank.
Frank and Hank?
Frank and Hank.
Okay.
Okay, we had the
Thank you.
discussion, all in favor? Aye, motion passes.
This is for the information for the village board. We have to submit resolutions to the state on the trustees, the village attorney, and the acting justice. And we have until January 31st, 2018. This is just for the information for the village board.
Okay, so that's the update on the approval of selected timesheets in compliance with 2 NRCRR Section 315. Okay, that's information, we'll take care of that.
That's it.
All right, thank you, Virginia.
You're welcome.
Department of Public Works, Mr. Zawicki, please. Pass this to Amy. That's your copy.
Good evening. I'm requesting authorization to issue a purchase order for professional services for the wastewater treatment upgrade and plug flow modification final design project to the low-cost proposal submitted by GHD of Cazenovia, New York, in the amount of $197,380. This is a New York State DEC consent order project with a required April 2018 submittal date.
So I have a resolution here authorizing the acceptance of the low bid for the wastewater treatment plant upgrade and plug-in flow modifications, final design, professional services, and a request for proposal, in the amount of $197,380. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Can we make it clear that it's subject to procurement and receipt of bonding money and all required documents and review of same by the village attorney?
Subject to the procurement and receipt of bonding monies and all required documents and review of the same by the village attorney. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to surplus the following vehicles: 2000 Ford Taurus SE, 1988 Chevy 1500 pickup truck, 2002 Ford Explorer, and 2006 Ford Crown Vic, as discussed during the workshop.
To have the resolution here declaring and disposing of surplus vehicles. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting the mayor to appoint Mr. William Barish to the vacant MEO2 position within the street department. Mr. Barish has been approved by the Rockland County Department of Personnel and is a Suffern fireman. This promotion would become effective November 9th, 2017, at a pay rate of $28.69 per hour.
To have a resolution appointing William Barish to the position of motor equipment operator 2. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to appoint William Barrett to the vacant position of MEO2.
Have a second?
Second.
First,
Need a
first you
second.
gotta get a second.
Second.
Discussion?
This is all in the budget, right, Mr. Genito? Yes. No problem. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting the mayor to appoint Mr. Lawrence Vogel, Jr. to the vacant MEO2 position within the street department. Mr. Vogel has been appointed to, or I'm sorry, has been approved by the Rockland County Department of Personnel and is a Suffern fireman. This promotion would become effective November 9th, 2017 at a pay rate of $26.86 per hour.
I have a resolution appointing Larry Vogel to the position of motor equipment operator 2. Do I have a motion?
I'd
Make
like
a
to
mo-
make that motion.
Wow. All right, who made the motion?
Hank.
Hank? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It's budgeted for and accounted for, Mr. Genito. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Congratulations, Mr. Vogel. Yeah, he's here. Give him a round of applause.
I am requesting the mayor to appoint Mr. Mark Facilio to the open laborers position within the street department. Mr. Facilio has been approved by the Rockland County Department of Personnel and is a Suffern fireman. Mr. Facilio will commence work on November 27th, 2017 at a pay rate of $17.30 per hour.
Can I ask a question? Is Mr. Forcilio the same as Mark Forcello?
Yes.
Forcello.
Forcello.
Cello?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have a resolution appointing Mark Forcello to the position of laborer. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Once again, Mr. Genito, it's already accounted for in the budget. Correct. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to issue a professional service request for proposal for Memorial Drive drainage evaluation. This proposal will be due at the end of business on December 20th, 2017.
I have a resolution authorizing Charles Zawicki to solicit a professional service request for proposal for engineering study of the Memorial Drive drainage evaluation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Not yet.
Not yet. All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to issue a purchase order for professional services for the wastewater treatment plant digester boiler replacement project to be issued to H2M of Suffern, New York, to provide construction inspection oversight services not to exceed the amount of $20,000. These services will be on a as-needed basis throughout the course of the project.
Resolution on this. You don't have a resolution on this.
This item has also been identified as a requirement and has been funded as part of the project.
Can you just review the project once again, please, for the...
The project?
Yes, the project and then the services that are going to attach with this.
Okay, so there is a digester boiler replacement project.
In the wastewater treatment
The
plant.
wastewater treatment plant that has just commenced. And during the course of that project, we will have progress meetings. We'll have technical questions that will come up. In addition, review of shop drawings, inspections, other construction-related items that would be a requirement during the project.
Okay, so this is definitely right in line with the boiler upgrade.
Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Do we have the resolution?
No. Did you get any other quotes?
No, and reason for that is because H2M was the consultant that put the documents together. So they have the best knowledge of the project. And it's really based on, it's on essentially a T&M basis, and attached
I
to
saw
their
that.
proposal is their rates. So if we use an engineer for a specific task for 3 hours on next Thursday, we would get billed for 3 hours for his time.
Okay. So it's professional services.
It's professional services.
Not to exceed.
Maximum not to exceed.
Not to
20,000.
exceed.
Right.
Okay. Just a motion to approve
Yeah.
the authorization to issue a purchase order for professional services in accordance with
Give it to them.
the November 2nd, 2017 proposal for professional engineering services prepared by H2M Architects and Engineers in a not-to-exceed dollar amount of $20,000 according to the 2017 rate schedule attached thereto, which provides a range of fees depending on the class of engineer or manager who reviews different phases of the project.
Not to exceed, right? You said not to exceed?
Yes.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Just want to bring to the attention some of the residents here. I recognize that with the previous resolutions that we accepted, authorizing acceptance for the low bid for the wastewater treatment plant upgrades and plug flow modifications. That's a great step in the right direction for our wastewater treatment plant, along with this additional motion for the professional services in regards to the...
Hold on, Ed.
Hold on there. Tell him when he can go.
So with the upgrades and modifications design, and then this additional professional services in regards to the boiler upgrade, Charles, maybe you could just give us a little brief description of the boiler upgrade for the wastewater treatment plant and the biofuel aspect, and just a quick overview.
Yes, well, that project will replace the existing 3 boilers that are currently in place. One of the existing boilers, the original design included 2 biogas boilers and 1 that would be for natural gas. One of those boilers have been out for quite a long time, close to a decade. The other 2 boilers, we've been kind of keeping them together with rubber bands and Band-Aids. So anyway, they definitely need to be replaced. There'd be 2 new boilers. There'd be a biogas that could, the main fuel source would be the digester gas from the digester. When that gas level is reduced, and there's certain times a year that could happen, we'd be able to utilize natural gas. And these boilers heat the digester. The digester need to be in the 100 to 110 degree range for them to operate properly, get proper digestion.
Right.
So that's the main purpose of these boilers.
Great, well, it's a cost savings that we'd be utilizing the gas the digester produces. The methane, is it methane? I don't know.
Yeah, methane gas.
Methane gas, and these new furnaces will be able to burn that gas instead of us purchasing O&R natural gas.
Right. And that's,
So it's at a cost savings for that,
yeah.
although you know, we're in desperate need of them.
Yeah, the boilers that we currently have that are in bad shape currently are using natural gas.
Right.
So it would dramatically reduce the cost for natural gas.
Great. All right. Thank you. Mr. Genito.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have a bond resolution, $250,000 for the acquisition of heavy-duty vehicles. And what that is related to is that, as you know, we received a grant award in the amount of $250,000 for the purchase of a heavy-duty vehicle for Public Works. That grant award, the state agency to make the payment on it is Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, DASNY. And typically the payments from DASNY don't come as quickly as we'd like. For instance, we have one project right now waiting $50,000 for about 3 years for the money to come through. So what this allows us to do is to purchase the vehicle, and then if need be, we can do it with borrowed money, meaning borrow the money on a short-term basis until the grant money comes in. Just a couple of notes, and I know that Fred Rella had mentioned this in a previous session, at least in a work session, that the purchase of the vehicle or the ordering of the vehicle is not to take place until Fred has advised us that the grant paperwork has been received and signed off by both the village and the state. And at that point, we can proceed to purchase the vehicle.
And Mr. Zawicki is aware of that procurement process.
Right, and this
Okay.
bond resolution allows you, if necessary, to borrow the money to pay for the vehicle if it's needed before the grant funds come in.
Great.
And I
So-
believe you need a majority vote
Okay.
for it.
So just to rehash it, we received the grant for $250,000 for heavy-duty vehicles. The grant is going to be reimbursable or awarded in a rather lengthy time, so we're going to borrow money, and then when we receive the grant, we'll pay back the bond. So I have the bond resolution of Village of Suffern, New York, adopted November 8, 2017, authorizing the acquisition of a heavy-duty vehicle, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $250,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $250,000 to finance said appropriation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Excuse me,
Yes, please.
I'm sorry. I was going to...
Exactly how does it work in terms of the timing of when, okay, I understand that this is all subject to the state signing off on it and us signing off on the grant. But assuming that occurs, and then assuming that we bond, how does it work with paying off this bond after we receive the money from the state?
So to begin with, I want to clarify a couple of things. I believe we're going to need a roll call vote on this. I believe that we need 4 affirmative votes for it to pass.
I was gonna get
Number
to
one. Second thing is, if this is adopted, there's a 20-day estoppel period, as well as a 30-day permissive referendum period that has to pass. If we borrow the money, we don't borrow it with a bond directly, we borrow it with a bond anticipation note, which is a short-term note of a year or less. And at the time that the grant funds would come in, depending on the timing of that, we would either use the grant funds to pay off the note, or to hold take those grant funds in, and when the note comes due, pay it off. So either way, the note would be paid off by the grant funds. The note could be renewed for up to 5 years before it has to be bonded. So hopefully the money from DASNY would come before the 5th-year anniversary, and we don't actually have to issue a bond.
Right, that's what I wanted to have explained. Okay. And I was going to point out the other requirements that you mentioned, but thank you for covering those. Also, in addition, within 10 days, Virginia,
Yes.
within 10 days of the adoption of this, it has to be published, a copy in the newspaper, Journal News. And it has to be posted in at least 6 public places. And in each
We
polling
don't have
place,
6 anymore.
well,
We have
You're gonna have
4
to
or
find
5.
We'll find 6.
we'll find 6, and in each polling place in the village.
Roll call vote, Ms. Hertzman?
Aye.
Mr. Hagen?
Yes.
Mr. Sussman?
Aye.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
And I say aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
The second item we have is amending the capital project for the sewer abatement. As Mr. Rella had noted, we received a grant award for this project. The project actually came out less than what was originally budgeted. So this amendment is simply taking the total amount of the project and reducing it by the amount of the actual project cost.
So I have the resolution to amend capital projects 2016-010 sewer abatement. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Just to keep in mind, as Mr. Genito said, this was to amend capital project 010 due to the grant money that we received, reducing the bond, the initial bond,
Right, we're not amending the bond resolution, but we're reducing the total project.
the total project
Or
cost.
the amount that the project actually came in at.
Okay.
And that's the only amount that you get as part of the grant award.
Yes, as a matter of fact,
Is what
the
you
unfortunate
actually-
news was, even though we were awarded up to 180,000 or so, the grant award is 25% of the total expenditures, or 180,000, whichever is less. We happen to have less, 134,000, so we got punished for being good. And we did check with the state to see if there was a way that we could reprogram the funds that weren't used, either to another sewer project, and they said no. So,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Another good one.
the third item is authorizing capital project 2018-002, which is the 2018 roadway improvements. The board had approved the use of the CHIPS and other state funds to be used for the roadway improvements to be done, but we actually didn't adopt a project to account for that. So this is adopting the project to account for the funds that were spent and to be received.
Okay, so the resolution authorizing capital project 2018-002, 2018 roadway improvements. Whereas the Director of Public Works has presented a list of streets to be reconstructed or resurfaced, including any necessary ADA ramps and/or other appurtenances, totaling $409,220, the 2018 roadway improvement. Whereas the village received a letter dated July 14, 2017, from New York State Department of Transportation, advising the village that there were unspent consolidated highway improvement program funds in the amount of $303,968.25 unspent, paved New York funds in the amount of $51,521.38, and unspent extreme winter recovery funds in the amount of $49,202.84. And whereas project number 2016-003, street resurfacing, will provide $60,000 of the $410,000 needed to finance the 2018 roadway improvement. Now therefore be it resolved, the capital project number 2018-002, entitled 2018 roadway improvements, is established in the amount of $350,000 to be funded with $51,521 from Pave New York funds, $49,202 from Extreme Winter Recovery funds, and the remaining $249,277 from CHIPS funds. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
clear this up for me. Is this work that has been done or is going to be done?
Work that
Has
has been
been.
done. Correct? Yes.
So then why are we characterizing it as a 2018 project?
It's our fiscal year, 2018, that this was done in. 2017-18, so we use the 2018 as the fiscal year.
Should we make
Any
that-
projects, when we create a project
Yeah.
within the fiscal year, we use the end of the fiscal year, which is May 31, 2018 in our case, as the year of the project. So if you see a project for 2017, that took place from June 1, 2016 through May 31, 2017 when it was adopted.
Okay,
just
just
as a
so
note,
I don't feel
that's-
stupid, did everyone understand that before?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so I
just
do
you know,
feel stupid.
That's just a
Okay.
title. It's a title purpose, but it helps us to go back and see when was that project authorized.
I would say no if it makes you feel better.
It would make me
All
feel
right, no,
better,
no,
but
I
I,
didn't understand.
I,
All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
The next item is that we, in the 2017-18 budget, when we did the contractual cost related to fuel expenses, we put the amount that really, some amount that really belonged in the police department into the public works. We're separating that because that's where it normally gets charged to, so it's $25,000, and this is asking for a budget amendment just to
right. but
clarify that.
This sort of dovetails into what I said before. Here, we're making it clear it's 2017-18 budget.
Well, the difference is that in a capital budgets go for multiple years. So what we state is 1 year, and that's the year that the budget was adopted. Now, that project may take, this one doesn't, but it may go 2 or 3 years, like the sewer abatement. Took more than a year. So a project can go more than 1 year, a capital project. So we just use the 1 year as being the year that it was adopted.
Okay. Well, I became a lawyer because I couldn't do math, but okay.
Okay, so what year are we in?
2017.
No, I'm kidding.
Still think-
So I have the resolution to transferring 2017, 2018 funds, fiscal year, from street department to contractual to police department contractual. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
The next resolution is to authorize the Parkmobile Service Agreement. Currently, we have, for our parking department, the permits and so forth are processed through Parkmobile. And however, the payment for such when it's done online is done through another company. Parkmobile is offering the village that same service at a lesser cost. And since it ties in with the registration system for the permits and so forth, it also has a certain functionality that benefits the village. So this resolution would authorize them to be our main processor for those payments.
So I have the resolution here authorizing the renewal of the Park Mobile Service Agreement and authorizing Park Mobile to serve as merchant of record for credit and debit card transactions.
And be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to sign the Park Mobile Service Agreement effective November 9th, 2017.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
That's terrific.
Motion passes.
Right, and then we just have a technology update on the village website and a couple of communication alternatives. Essentially what this is, as you probably know, and many of our residents noticed, the website went offline for a while. And when I say offline, that's basically the message you got when you tried to get to it. The technical company that was dealing with the website indicated that it was offline and couldn't be brought back up online except for at some very significant cost. And with that, the village looked to see if there was another company that we could host a website with and develop a fresh website that would not only as you might have noticed, at some points, the website, the old one, had been hacked a little bit. So it wasn't as secure as it should have been.
Excuse me, did you say it was hacked a little bit?
Hacked a little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Depends, if you're one of the pharmaceutical companies, you loved it because it was advertising one of their drugs. But the bottom line is that the new website is in a more modern content management system known as WordPress. But on top of that, the hosting facility that we're using, we have total control over it now as the administrators. In addition to that, it has all the latest in security settings. It also is compliant with anything that's required of a government website. So some of those requirements are not only the security that I just mentioned, but also there's what they call Section 508 accessibility for people who are impaired and have difficulty either seeing a website on a screen or hearing it. And basically it has to meet those requirements. And so that's what we're doing with the website. We also went through the process of acquiring a .gov address. Only governments can have a .gov address. A business or an individual cannot have that. You have to be a government, you have to apply specifically through, believe it or not, .gov, which is a government website, a federal government website, and you have to meet their criteria in order to get that. So as our website is now suffernny.gov. And we couldn't just have suffern.gov because one of the requirements is you had to have the state at the back of your name, the state initials, NY. So we're suffernny.gov, and that's, as we're through phase one now, which is putting the website up and getting some basic information out there that the residents look for the most. And we're starting phase two of that, which is going to be developing the pages for the departments, making more documents accessible online. We're looking at having an interactive website that people could go online and fill out forms and submit them electronically, much as what they do. The other thing the website does, which the old one didn't, is it is compatible with mobile devices. So whether you're using a tablet, a desktop, or smartphone, the experience, the browsing experience, is much better than what was available under the other website. The other item that we have, communication systems, as you know, we currently use an emergency system. It's called, I believe, Nexel or Nixel. Nixel. And that system is a very basic system that will identify emergency situations to the public, either through landline phones and or cell phones if they signed up for it. But we want to expand that and get a more robust system out there that will allow us to identify certain areas. Nixel does offer a version of that enhanced system, but there are a couple other systems, and one of them is called Code Red, that is used by many, many governments in the country. And so we're looking at the two systems to see which one might be better for us. Ultimately, we're looking for a system that will allow us to select areas of the village. It might be an entire village, it might be areas prone to floods, areas prone to high traffic or some situation, and therefore you can pull those out. And when situations come up, good or bad, emergency situations, you can alert people about that. And likewise, if it was something nice, like you're going to have an event that you'd like the residents to know about, that system will identify and advise people by voice, telephone. It can be done by text as well as email. And all a person has to do, if they already have a landline that's registered with the phone company, it'll, published, it'll go to that landline. And they can also, optionally, if they want, sign up with cell phones. So if they have that, then they can get a text at their home, their business, their cell phone, get a text, get an email. Lots of ways to get notified.
Sounds good. A lot of technology upgrades going on in the village, thanks to Mike and Amy have been doing a great job. We had a meeting today discussing all the different types of pages and what would be recommended by the department heads and the functionality of the website, so we're really making headway. Thank you for for taking that on, doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kraushaar.
Okay. First, I'd like the board to establish a public hearing amending the code to increase fees for violations of the village code. It will be done by local law, and my request would be that public hearing be set for December 4th, 2017 at 7:35 p.m.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes. Public hearing, Virginia, 12/4/17 at 7:35.
Okay, we have a series of agreements that the board has to consider. The first one deals with an agreement called an intermunicipal agreement with Rockland County, where we get reimbursed for certain services that we provide with regard to the Drug Task Force, Organized Crime and Gang Investigation Unit, and the Investigative Technology Support Center. This is an annual contract, and it once again reimburses, gets the village reimbursed by the county for costs incurred in their use of our police personnel. And what we would need is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the Regional Investigative Resource Center intermunicipal agreement for the period January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2017, nunc pro tunc.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in, any discussion?
For those not in the know, nunc pro tunc means, in Latin, that which comes before, as if done before. So, because the date originally goes back to January 1st, 2016, and that's already passed, it allows us to do it as if done before.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, next is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign sign an agreement with the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for the project management. We were awarded $2+ million for various improvements related to flood mitigation measures.
Of the wastewater treatment plant.
Excuse me?
Of the wastewater.
Wastewater treatment plant and other things as well. And this would authorize the mayor to sign that agreement. And this is not nunc pro tunc, so just a motion to authorize the mayor to sign this agreement.
Do I have a motion, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York Project Management Agreement?
I'll make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Okay, in a similar vein, we're also dealing with GOSER. So this resolution, that's the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. So a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the New York Rising Community Reconstruction Program right of entry permit and release for the Village of Suffern Department of Public Works garage.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
And finally, I believe, yes. A resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the New York Rising Community Reconstruction Program right-of-way entry permit and release for the Village of Suffern water and wastewater treatment facilities, different facility than the prior resolution, same concept. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. You done, Dan?
Yeah.
What about?
There was an issue brought up a number of months ago as to ownership of an alley off Suffern Place. We hired a title company to do that search, and though I haven't gotten anything in writing from them, and also never got a bill from them, they have concluded that the village does not have ownership, and it's a private property dispute.
At this time, let's see, hold on. Trustee update. Mr. Sussman?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, in an effort to, as the phrase goes, reach across the aisle, I want to congratulate you and Deputy Mayor Hagen and Trustee Hertzman on your victory yesterday. You faced competition from members of the Democratic Party, Mr. Bellin, Mr. Gomes, who put up a good battle, a good fight. But it has been my pleasure. This is my 12th monthly meeting. I've been here a year, and it's been a pleasure to serve on this board with the other board members, and I congratulate you all.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. That means a lot, Mr. Sussman. Thank you. Anyone else with an update? Okay, we'll move on to the mayor's section. I have a resolution here authorizing Empower Artist Productions to film November 12th at the Suffern Athletic Field. Whereas the Empower Artist Production, 538 West 149th Street, New York, producing the independent educational film All Talk, submitted an application to film in the Village of Suffern at Suffern Athletic Fields on Sunday, November 12th. All Talk is a film featuring a Suffern midget Mounties. The film will highlight the impact of psychological retrospection on midlife adults and present resources for coping with midlife depression. Film activities will include Suffern midget Mounties representing the youth and 2 adults who are former Suffern midget Mounties representing midlife retrospection. Whereas the film activities will include the use of handheld cameras only, no other production equipment will be allowed. The midget Mounties have a permit for the field that day and have authorized filming of their practice to take place. And whereas in accordance with the Village of Suffern filming guidelines, filming using handheld cameras does not require a permit. However, individuals may still obtain an optional permit from the Village of Suffern upon request. Whereas in accordance with the Village of Suffern filming guidelines, the filming permit application fee does not apply to the optional filming permits. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the permit of Empower Artist, authorizes the mayor to sign the permit application, authorizing Empower Artist Productions pursuant to local law of filming in the Village of Suffern, and subject to the submission of all required documentation. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in, discussion.
I'm not certain. I thought that the local law, Amy, said that the village clerk signs that permit?
The village clerk with the mayor's authorization.
Okay, but it says the mayor to sign the permit application.
Oh, okay.
So with that amendment,
Do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. This time I'd like to speak about Mr. Michael Simon. Is he here, Mr. Michael Simon? Why don't you come on up? Mr. Michael Simon is a local resident. He lives here in the village of Suffern. His dad always comes to the village board meetings and films us. So, Michael, give us a little overview on your Eagle Scout project.
Yes, I just finished my Eagle Scout project. It's over at Memorial Park next to the pool. It's a World War I Veterans Memorial for the 9 Suffern area veterans. It's a boulder with a plaque with the names and dates of deaths of the 9 veterans, as well as a flagpole with a solar-powered light, so there'll always be light on the flagpole. I'd like to thank, just a couple special thanks. I'd like to thank my troop, everyone who helped, you, Ms. Markunas, Ms. Kathy Mills, for all your help throughout the process, and the CSEA Street Department for bringing out the trees that I planted at the project. That's it.
I was down there the other day taking a look at it. You really did a great job. Honoring our veterans is, a primary focus here in the village, and you really did an outstanding job. That World War I memorial sort of went by the wayside over many years, and you just revived it. So you should really give them a round of applause for that. We'll set up a schedule for a dedication ceremony.
Yes.
Yes, so we'll talk about that. You'll get together with Miss Mills and we'll set something up.
And I expect to be seeing you sitting up here one day.
Maybe in the meantime, he'd like one of those DPW circles.
Bruce, you raised a fine young man. Good job.
He is, he's a nice young fella. Very nice. Okay, next.
I think we have the last.
The clerk. Judges and
That's what it
clerks.
is. That's the closure.
Justice Court. Justice Court.
Yes, I have it here. I'm just reviewing it. I have an email here from the Justice Court Clerk. Good morning. I am attaching an email advising the judges and clerks of mandatory training sessions on appeals and orders of protection to be held on November 17th, 2017. CJE credit is available. There are many laws and procedural changes, and it would be beneficial for Ann, Rizzo, and I, Christine Anderson, to attend. Due to the staffing shortage in this department, it will be necessary to close the office. Protocol requires the mutual consent from the village and the judge to attend. Please advise. Do I have a motion to close the court?
Authorize the close of the court on November 17th, 2017 to enable Ann Rizzo and Christine Anderson to attend judges and clerks mandatory training sessions on appeals and orders of protection.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. The last item here is Amy, can you just clarify this with the meeting, setting up the meeting with NJT and the rail?
We reached out to them with 4 dates this month. They responded indicating those 4 dates weren't available.
Okay.
And we're going to work to schedule something the 1st of December.
Okay.
All right.
So that's just a quick update. We had issues under the Chestnut Street rail overpass in regards to lighting and maintenance, so we are trying to schedule a meeting to resolve these issues that exist under the Chestnut Street overpass.
And around the station as well.
And in and around the station. Correct.
Which in my opinion is the responsibility of New Jersey Transit.
I concur.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Good.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, okay. One more request from Virginia. It's a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Seconded by?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Great job. Thank you, everybody.